everybody. You're very welcome to another episode of Chatting Up the Irish. Tonight I'm speaking to a man who is from North Sligo, a place called Grange, beautiful part of the country. His name is Colin Gillan. He's a photographer, a videographer, and he's also a band manager, an artist manager. So hang with us for 30 minutes and hope you enjoy the programme. Hello everybody, you are very welcome to Chatting Up the Irish. I'm delighted to be talking to Colin Gillan. He is from a place called Grange in County Sligo and it is North Sligo. It has so much to offer and he's going to tell us all about Sligo, but he's going to tell us about what he's into as well. He's a great photographer and amazing. He's going to show us some of his photographs. He's a videographer, but he also manages some extremely well-known Irish musicians and singers. Someday, maybe, when I get relaxed a little bit, Colin, maybe you'll manage me as well. So how are you?
I think you're managing yourself fine. You're flying it out there at the moment, yeah, despite everything.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
yeah, we have to keep going, Colin, don't we?
yeah, absolutely, yeah. So yeah, it's been a funny old year for everybody, for musicians and for anyone that was on the road touring or anyone that wanted to come on holidays or visit Ireland. It's been tough for everybody, but there is a saying where do you remember the saying where they're not making any more new land? Well, also Ireland's not going anywhere; it's here.
Right.
So they will get back over here at some stage soon, hopefully.
Well, exactly. With all God's help, it'll all ease soon
Mm,
because the
mm.
musicians really, really had a hard time with Colin.
Yeah, yeah,
So, like I remember when this hit, Dervish were in the middle of a tour over in America,
right.
and they had
Same
to
as that.
find.
Yeah, we were in Nashville actually when we had to turn around and come home.
Yeah,
So it was yeah, and we were meeting American musicians in the airport coming back from London and from Europe, and then we were trying to get back to Ireland. Like, and I flew back in on St. Patrick's Day, and it was like a ghost town. The whole place shut down. So
yeah.
really surreal scenes altogether, you know.
And they're still not back up on the road yet.
No, just slowly now they're starting to kind of, there's a roadmap out of it at the moment. So we're a wee bit behind on the vaccinations, but that's catching up. So hopefully we'll get a bit of a summer out of it. But like in real terms, late in the year, hopefully things will be more or less back up, so we'll see.
So so Colin, you're from Grange. I have a sister that lives in Grange,
Oh, all
and
right, very good,
yeah,
yeah.
do you remember? And I used to go down to Colin's. Colin had a bar, and he had a great music room, um, upstairs, and you had some absolutely amazing artists. But we talk about Grange and what it has to offer. First of all, it's Stranger
Mm.
Beach is right down the road from Grange. Do you want to tell us about the history of Stranger Beach?
Yeah, so I didn't know I was giving history lessons,
I'm
but Streeter
sorry.
Beach, yeah, yeah, it's an absolute beautiful beach.
Okay.
It's up and down is 5.5 kilometers. It's the most stunning beach to walk because today actually we were over and we could see what I actually can't recall ever seeing, but we always see Donegal Mountains across the Donegal Bay, and you can see Slieve League off in the distance.
Yeah.
But today I could see Mount Errigal, which
Oh
is even
wow.
further down. Yeah, it was so clear. The clarity today was unreal. Um, but we have the beach there, and a bit of history. In 1588, the Spanish Armada was unfortunately shipwrecked. They were invading England, got blown off course, came around Northern Ireland. Some of the ships went in Northern Ireland and further places along the coast. But Streeja actually has three of the galleons buried in the sand out there. So some of the stuff has been salvaged and is in museums, but there's so, like with three ships, there's untold wealth in the sand, which is accessible, but it's the cost of excavating it. And at the moment, they've nowhere to put it, so they're keeping it
Yeah.
in the sand. But
And
yeah, so Streeja.
yeah, they did find a gun, one of the guns, didn't they?
Oh yeah. They've on several. I remember when I was only about 9 or 10. There was an English salvage company had come and located it and had actually raised some of the cannons. So they were out of the water, what, 40 years ago now, 30 years ago. And then only recently, some more debris was washed up and more stuff was recovered. So it's sitting there just to be taken, but there's nowhere to put it. That's the thing. So at the moment, there's a very good organization in Grange, the Spanish Armada Society,
Yeah.
and they have like a little visitor center and stuff like that, and there's some artifacts and details there. But eventually, I think they're hoping that they will build a center that can house some of the actual exhibition stuff there and the history, because the Captain de Queller came ashore there in Grange, made his way up through Kinloch into Leitrim, eventually got out through Northern Ireland, through Scotland, and made it back to Spain to tell the tale. So it's written in history, and we have the beach and we have the most beautiful scenery around it.
And a lot of the sailors were found dead on the beach there as well, weren't
Yeah. So I think, the records, his story recounts, I think, between 900 and 1100 sailors were died off the three ships. Um, in total, only a small number actually made it back to Spain, but there's a great story of where they were held up, and there's a great video actually that was commissioned, a great film. It's online. It was commissioned by the society there in Grange, the Spanish Armada group, and they retell the tale, and it's really well done. Local actors in it as well. But it's really well portrayed, and it's well worth watching, and
Yeah.
that'll show it shows the landscape and the story of the Queller, yeah.
Yeah, the landscape there is absolutely fantastic. Do they
Mm.
do is it a good beach to go surfing on?
Yeah, so it would be a beach for beginners or intermediate surfing. So it's a very safe beach to swim in all year round, and then for surfing, it's very good. Um, but we're lucky then because we're only down the road from Mullaghmore, which
I
is
know it,
only
yeah.
7 miles away, and that actually then has the biggest surf in Ireland. And
Yeah.
it's on record. It's competing against Portugal for the biggest wave in Europe that's been surfed. Every winter, the storm swells come in there, and if you're lucky enough to go down, it's a perfect place to view the big wave surfing. We were only down recently there, so when we watch the weather apps, you can see when the swells are coming and when the surfers are heading down. And it could be they're out at 7, 5, 6, 7 o'clock in the morning when the tide is turning,
Yeah.
and it's phenomenal to see the big wave surfing. So surfers from all over the world come to Mullaghmore to try and surf that wave,
And of
but that's not for beginners now. Don't go in
yeah,
there now.
yeah. And but then you've got the international surfing competitions in Strandhill as well, which is
Yeah, so
yeah.
yeah, all along the west coast here, it's very good for surfing. Sligo in particular, right down to Eastkey, Strand Hill, all along there. And there's lots of secret places as well that the local surfers know about.
Yes.
But if you drive any of the back roads, you'll hit on them at some point.
Absolutely beautiful scenery. And of
Mm-hmm.
course, then you've got, let's say you've got the beauty. I love bringing my tours around the Mullaghmore Drive, the coastal drive. It's absolutely
Oh,
stunning. And you
beautiful,
can
yeah.
see Classy Bawn, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
with Benbulben in the background. And then
yeah.
there's the Glenef Horseshoe Drive as well.
Yeah, so that whole loop there, and there's great history there too as well from the mines that were up there as well, up at the mountains, and it's so bleak up at the top that you can only imagine what it might have been to live there like 100 years ago. And only recently, I was reading the story of a World War II bomber that was heading over, I think, to Scotland and crashed on the mountain. There was actually two plane wrecks on that mountain, and 7 or 8 American soldiers survived that crash. But all the documents are there where in the 40s when it happened, how the locals went up to help and the rescue went on overnight. And you can imagine very little equipment, very little warm clothing, anything like that, but they managed to bring down the soldiers,
Okay.
and then they were recovered and some of them brought to Sligo Hospital and some of them brought to Enniskillen, and eventually they were repatriated back to America and stuff. So amazing history there with the mountains. And we've got the Dartry mountain range from Benbulben, Benwhiskin, all the way down, and Eagles Rock, which is just on the border there, turning into Leitrim. Like,
Yes.
it's just spectacular, yeah.
Spectacular. What is that, the ruins of that building as you're in round Glenef? Was it a school or was it a factory or what was it?
No, I must just inquire again now, because I keep hearing different things. Some were saying it was a barracks. Some say it was. It's not a schoolhouse as such, like. But I must inquire again now. I just have forgotten now because I've heard several versions of it.
Yeah,
But yeah, the ruins of that building is still there, like in the
yeah.
sheep, the sheep take shelter there.
I
So
know they do. I've passed it a few times, and
mm,
people love, even though it's just a ruin, but there's
mm,
something mystical and magical about it.
there is,
And
yeah, yeah, and you can go,
the backdrop,
yeah,
absolutely stunning.
stunning. You can go up there any time of the year, and it looks different if it's snowing or if the sun is shining. And yeah, it's such a deep valley, and the silence up there when you're up there, it's just eerie at times, and then it's spectacular at others. You know.
Well, myself and my three sons, we actually climbed it. We went up as far as that the Diarmid and
Oh,
Granius
Granny's Cave. Yeah, yeah,
cave.
yeah,
Now I didn't go into the cave. I was afraid to go into the
yeah.
cave, but my
You were
son
afraid.
did.
You were afraid of the bears, were you?
I was afraid to go into the cave. I was afraid that there'd be a deep drop, that I'd walk and then I'd drop down. I don't know where I got the notion, but I thought, no, not going into the cave, not without flashlights.
Yeah,
However,
yeah,
I did. I made it up as far as the cave, but
yeah, yeah.
it was the coming down that was the problem, Colin.
Oh, that's it. Yeah, it's quite steep now. Yeah,
Very
I
steep.
remember. I remember asking my father. We walked up Benbulben one time. We were sitting out on the edge, overlooking the whole of the Donegal Bay, Sligo, Knocknarea, right across. And I said to him, "How many times have you ever come up here?" And he says, "Shive was never up here." And I says, "You've lived here all your life. You never walked up." And he says, "Well, when we were younger and we'd go and work on the bog all day, cutting turf, banking turf, footing turf, loading up the donkey in carts, bringing them back down." He goes, "The last thing we wanted to do was go up and walk up a mountain." so so
Exactly.
they never had the luxury or time or leisure time
Not at
to
all.
actually go up and walk up it and look down. So he had to wait till he was retired to go up it. That's what
Yeah, but at
happened.
least
Yeah.
he had good company when he did go up.
Ah, yeah, 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 yeah.
And
Spectacular.
of
Yeah.
course, what I have behind me here, this is an amazing place.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Keel.
Yeah, yeah. It's
Tell,
stunning.
tell our audience about that place. And it's only up the road from you.
Yeah, so again, it's a metallithic tomb that was found, and I suppose it's the remains of a tomb, but that's a passage grave, I think that they might call that, and that would have been built completely over with stone and clay and mud then on top. So they would have made an entrance way in through one side of it, but there was a couple of rooms and a couple of living areas as well, I'd say. So it's really spectacular, and when you're going in, you can still see on the bushes where people hang the little bit of material for the tradition of it all and that, like, so it's really,
Yeah,
yeah, amazing.
you have the wishing tree when you walk in, and there's a wishing
Yeah,
tree
yeah,
at the Holy Well as well.
that's great. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Just showing
So
you how the pagan tradition, there's still a little bit of that held on in the Christian tradition in Ireland.
yeah,
Like
yeah, for sure.
I think there's that little bit of respect. It's kind of it blends in well.
Yeah, well, that's, I mean, the country, like those tombs and monuments predate anything else, nearly in Europe at this
Yeah,
stage, like, and Sligo is full of them, and
full of
Ireland as well.
yeah.
But the thing is that, like, that you can't live beside them and not take something from them, and want to believe in them and want to kind of keep some part of them alive. So
It's an essential part of our history and our culture,
yeah,
isn't it?
absolutely, yeah, yeah,
So tell me about you are into music management. Now,
correct.
you manage artists, but do you also do the other side where venues contact you for artists, or how does it work?
Yeah, so, well, I suppose my background in music, everything I do now in my life kind of revolves around music. For a long time, I kind of tried to ignore it. I did other things in my life. I had a whole other life way back, but it's all led back to music. And my grandfather was a bowron player, and there was always singing.
Good bar on players.
He was from County Clare, and there's always been that kind of culture of singing and pub singing, and everyone would have a song, and we grew up listening to people singing locally and stuff like that. And at some point then in school, I had friends that were in school bands, and I joined a couple of bands, and we learned to play guitar, and it was just that interest. And then I found an interest. I started listening to Paul Brady and Andy Irvine, and the place that I first heard their music was actually in Barry's Public House, which was the pub that, like, 20 years later, I ended up buying and
Yeah.
turning into a music venue. Although it always did music in terms of the kind of old show band style, dancing and waltzing. and some traditional music. I got it then and I turned it into an actual venue where we had artists from all over the world came and played there, do a concert, a small intimate concert, and we were on the circuit of their tour when they'd come to Ireland. So we've had amazing artists that have played there. John Martin, Richie Havens from America, like the list is endless, but we had it there for about 15 years. And that actually, having the venue and having those caliber of musicians coming through, I actually started documenting them by taking photographs of them, and that actually what was got me into photography. And
Ah,
then I had a whole career as a photographer, but really drawn back to the music all the time. So I worked a lot then with musicians for their publicity, their PR photos, and then that led into video work. And I'm a full-on videographer and doing short films and all kind of things now as well. So my whole work is based around that. But music, it took me to this time of my life to kind of realize that music, I've always been drawn to it, but it's also is what's sustaining me now.
amazing.
Um,
It's amazing how
yeah,
the life kind of turns. Like as you
yeah,
know,
yeah,
yeah, as you know, I'm a traditional singer, and it was always I grew up in Gurchin. I mean, it was always all
yeah,
around me.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
I came over here and I was performing. I actually have performed in about 27 states in America.
Wow.
But it was people coming up to me, Colin, saying, "Did you ever think about putting a group together and bringing them over to show them all these places you talk about in Ireland?"
Okay, yeah.
That's how the tour business started.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Amazing,
And
you know.
the tour bit, the tour goes hand in hand with the culture and the music. So you being the singer and the artist, like there's nobody better to bring a tour than the artist,
Yeah,
or the musician
exactly.
because
Because
you're there all the time.
you've got the culture,
Yeah,
you've got the history, you've got the
yeah,
musicians. Like I mean, I like my son is there, and any amount of like I could call him Brian McDonough now from Dervish or any of the
sure.
crowd and entertain the people that's coming over from America, and they
Yeah, yeah,
absolutely love it, you know.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Great. And we sing on the bus and we tell dirty jokes on the bus and we tell stories and we play games. It's great crack, Colin.
Oh, sure, I can imagine. Yeah, 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 yeah,
Yeah, but that part of the country is absolutely fantastic.
yeah.
There's a girl up in Cliffany as well, and she is Catherine, is it Catherine Rattigan? She does
Oh, yeah, Catherine. Yeah,
does
yeah, the
all
Ratigans.
she's very, very knowledgeable about seaweed and its benefits and everything.
Yeah. So there's a family there. So Catherine is a harp player and she actually lives over in Switzerland, I think it is. And then her sister is Dr. Pranny Rattigan then and it's Pranny then that does the seaweed. And she's fantastic because yeah, she has a cookbook out all about seaweed and every item of seaweed that you can imagine, she can tell you what part of the sea, because when the tide was turning or going out, you can go further out and each piece of seaweed does something different for you in terms of what you can eat it with, what health benefits are with it. Like, yeah. So I photographed her for publications internationally and stuff like that. And it's when you're standing beside her and she's taking it out of the sea and she's telling you what it's for and like it's just the world of knowledge. But
Yeah.
yeah, like sure the locals grew up that's what sustained them over those years. Like as bleak as the countryside was,
Oh
if you
yeah.
lived near the sea, there was such beneficial all the nutrients and
Oh,
benefits you had
absolutely.
from
And
it.
sure,
Yeah.
they use the seaweed as well for fertilizing the land as well,
That's
don't
it. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
they?
yeah,
For
yeah.
your photographs, Colin, question.
Mm,
Do you
mm.
just do you just concentrate on musical artists or do you do landscapes as well? I saw some pictures of have you any pictures that you can show us?
Yeah, I have
I
some
put you
pictures
on the
here.
spot here now.
Yeah, no, I have some pictures. All right, thought you might ask. Yeah, so my background in the photography then, and from a professional point of view, I've always shot for publications or on commission, and so over the years, then like you would be driving along and you'd see something that you have to, and this is the thing. It's like writing a song. If you don't write it down at that moment in time, you won't get
Ah,
it again nearly.
yeah,
So, like, I've often been heading to a business meeting and ended up being an hour late. Why? Because I seen something, I had to stop, get out, take out the camera, and take the photo.
yeah.
Because it's very hard. It's only ever happened to me once in my life that I was without the camera and I went back. When I woke up the next day, the morning felt similar, and I actually went back and I got the same photo again. And it was
Really.
just such a stillness in the air, but different things. I'll show you one or two photos
Yeah,
if I
do, please.
can.
Yeah, and talk to us about it and where it is.
Yeah, let me see now if I can get this now. So you can still hear me there, can you?
I can hear you, but you're gone black.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
Oh,
here's
yeah. Oh, look.
here's a photograph now, and that's actually my view in the morning nearly. That's from Streega Beach looking back at Benbulben, and that's a sunrise. Like so,
Sorry, Colin.
we wake up with that on our doorstep, and you have to embrace it when you see it. I'll give you another one here then,
Sorry.
and this
Oh,
is Knocknarea,
oh, it's
and
gorgeous.
and that's when the sun is going down the other side of Sligo then, like,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
Knocknarea, right on top there you can see Queen Maeve's grave, which is a mound again and
and it's,
predates.
and it's an easy walk up there too.
Yeah, it's a lovely walk up, and then it's spectacular views all around Sligo there as well,
And
so
for
that's
anyone
the.
looking at that and looking at the Queen Maeve's grave, the little bump that's on the top of that there, that would be called a cairn, and that would date back maybe 5 or 6 thousand years. But in front of that, down on the on the flat land, we have Carramore underground passage things as well, and they're like what I'm sitting in front of now, and it is a massive megalithic cemetery. It's amazing, the history that we have in Sligo, Colin.
Absolutely, yeah,
That's
and
just
Dolly's cottage is down there too at the foot of
yeah,
it as well, so you can call in and visit that as well, so
beautiful, absolutely.
yeah.
And of course, we've
um
got the seaweed bats in Strandhill as well.
That's right, yeah.
Look at
There's
that.
another
Oh,
view of Benbulben there now, yeah.
gorgeous.
Uh,
Now, Benbulben, we were just talking about Glenif and the Glenif Drive, and Colin was talking about um, the airplanes that crashed. It would have been on the back side of that.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I don't have it here, but there is a gallery online if people wanted to look up Colin Gillan and the Irish Independent. They did a feature on me a couple of years ago, and there is some photos of Eagles Rock on that. I don't have that, but actually, I show you this photo now that we're talking about the horseshoe, right? One
Or have
sec.
gone at the horseshoe.
Well, not so much the horseshoe, but something that happened on the horseshoe one day. Let me find it here.
I've got a few at
Um,
the horseshoe. They're beautiful. I've brought people around there, and they love. Look, brilliant. Well, that's a perfect photograph.
isn't that lovely? Yeah.
Oh my
Uh,
God, that's a perfect photograph.
and the cow and the dog, and then so
That's perfect.
again, that was rush hour for me. I was stuck behind him,
Yeah,
but I stopped the van, and there was four cars behind me, and I didn't care because none of us was getting overtaking him. So I
yeah.
just stopped, got out with my camera, and I stood in the center of the road and took that shot. Then, like,
Brilliant.
yeah. So
Oh, that's
that
brilliant. Brilliant
uh,
photo.
think John McGowan is his name there up in Ballintrellick there.
Yeah.
And then this photo happened one morning coming
I
from
love
street.
it.
Mm.
I love
So
it.
that was,
I saw that on Facebook the other day, and I was going to write. I didn't know it was you that took it, and I was
yeah,
going to write to whoever posted and said, "Can I use that?" I
yeah.
love
Well, you can use that. That actually is taken with a phone, would you believe? But
your
it was
joke.
taken. Yeah. Again, it's a sunrise shot. The sun is just behind the clouds there, but that was printed then that was published in the Irish Examiner newspaper. Published that one, you know.
That's going into Streega Beach, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the cattle grid there. So the cattle can't cross there at that point. There's an Australian cattle grid, or the
Yeah.
Australian cattle gate they call it. Um, so that was that one, and then I wanted to show you one or two musicians.
Oh yes.
So
Oh,
Tom Moore,
oh God rest his soul.
yeah,
Yeah.
and that photo would have been taken in Barry's.
Yeah.
And then just when I was looking at different, I have so many photos, but I'll show you this one then as well. You'll know a few of these. Oh,
Oh,
that's
Shane.
Shane McGowan from the Pogues. So that was in the front bar of Barry's, and we were having a session one night, and Shane came in and joined in. Like, so he used to come and visit a friend of his in Grange, and we used to have great crack with him.
Yeah.
Um, and then there you
Oh,
go,
there's
Shimmy
Tommy.
O'Dowd and
Shame. Do you know Shane?
Tony.
Shamey is a cousin of mine.
Oh, is he? Oh, very good. Right, right.
And
And that's
Tony
Tony DeMarco. Yeah, a New York
Did you
fiddle
hear the
player.
story
Like,
about Tony DeMargo and the Sligo Indians?
I, I heard something. You can
Well,
tell me.
I'll tell you because I'll tell you exactly where that came from. Tony DeMargo, years ago, there was the Cole Memorial in Gurchin.
Yeah.
This is now before myself and PJ were married, PJ Hernan.
Yes.
We were just going out with each other at the time. And it was the weekend of the Cole Memorial.
Mm.
And my father used to get this man, Paddy Devine was his name. And Paddy liked the jar, but he
Yeah,
was
yeah.
crazy mad about traditional music. Paddy
Right.
loved his music. So anyhow, my father picked him up and brought him up to the house, and he says, Paddy, he says, now, he had a certain amount of work for him to do. And he says, don't leave this house now until you get all that done. He says, I don't want to see you over in the pub. Anyway, my father said to me, don't let that man leave this house until he has the work done. And I was thinking, how the hell am I going to stop him,
Yeah.
Anyway, my father was gone about 10 minutes. Paddy was gone about half an hour after. And I'm thinking he's going to kill me when he comes back. Anyhow,
Yeah.
Paddy was beyond the pub in the Roisin Dhu in Gurchin.
Yeah.
Tony DeMargo and this guy, his friend, he's a guitar player. He was Italian and I can't remember his name. And the two of them, they had long black hair and Tony had a
Oh,
tash
yeah.
and the other guy had long hair and he had, the jackets with the
Tassels on them, is
tassels
it? Yeah.
on them.
Yeah.
And he had feathers coming out of his hair. So
Yeah.
anyway, my father comes home and he says to me, "Where's Paddy?" I says, "I don't know, Daddy. I don't know where he is. He's probably over in the pub." So anyhow, he goes over and he brings Paddy back. Now Paddy at this stage is well cut,
Yeah.
meaning he's under the influence of alcohol. Everybody, for we say well cut in Ireland. Anyway, he comes in and he tells me he could not get over. He says, I don't believe it. I never saw anything like this in my life before. Two American Indians playing traditional music as good as you'll ever hear in your life, May. He says, I'm telling you, it's the truth. He says, two Indians beyond in the pub playing music. So, so that was okay. I remember laughing because the next day, PJ had invited them for dinner in our house.
Oh,
So
yeah.
as soon as they walked in, I realised where Paddy got the Indian
The-
thing. And I laughed
Very
and
good.
I says to him, there was a guy in the pub last night watching ye and he thought that you were two American Indians. So anyway, it was very funny. So then um 20, 20 years later,
Mm.
Colin, I'm sitting at the Coleman Memorial Festival in the same pub
Yeah.
and I hear two, a guy from England and a guy from America, and they're chatting away. And they're at the festival.
Mm.
And they start talking about Tony DeMargo and the Indians. And I'm listening to this story and I'm thinking, how the hell do they know that? And
Yeah.
I says, I'm sorry, can I interrupt for a minute? I says, how do you know about Tony DeMargo and him being called an Indian? And he says, sure, that story has gone around the world. I said, you're joking. And I says, that was my family. I says, and it was a man that worked in our house for my father. He
Yeah.
says,
Yeah.
no way. I says, yeah. So anyhow, I met Tony a few years ago. And I don't know where I met him. I was teaching at the Catskills in the Irish, the Irish week in the Catskills.
Yeah.
And I was telling him how I heard 20 years later about the story, and he says, "Oh yeah, it's gone around the world." But anyhow, that's the story about Tony.
Lovely. Yeah. Yeah.
Have you another
And
one?
then I've one or two more here. Yeah.
Oh God, that's gorgeous.
Yeah. So that's Classy Castle there, looking back
Oh,
over at Mullaghmore. Yeah.
that's beautiful.
And then this one, then, and
Oh, gorgeous.
that's Glencar Lake. Then,
Yeah,
stunning place. Like, yeah.
stunning, stunning. And you see, it's all around you, Colin.
Ah, yeah. Sure. We're very lucky. Like, yeah.
You're blessed, absolutely.
That's yeah.
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 And I want to talk to the girl. There's a girl called Ashling who runs um an oyster farm in
Oh,
Sligo.
yeah. Yeah. So yeah. So the Sligo Bay Oysters are there. So the Lissadell Oyster Company, there's a few different companies that are all involved there. And the lads from Moxie, their father, Charlie Kelly,
Oh yeah.
He has, yeah, he runs one of them. And Ashleen, then they have, if you come into Sligo town, and it's WB Cafe there
Oh yeah,
in
yeah, I
on
know.
and in there they have an oyster experience. So you can go in and they will shuck the oysters there for you. You get the local oysters and all the other foods that go with it, and the tasting and the wine and all that. So
Yeah,
that's a really good experience. Yeah, so Ashleen there, she runs that there,
I'm
yeah.
going to talk. I'm going to see if she'll come on as well. I'd like to talk to her, and I'd like to
Oh yeah.
yours as well. So, Colin,
Mm,
would you now again? I don't want to put you on the spot, but if people like those photographs, would you
mm.
sell prints to them?
It's not it's not something I do per se, but like I mean, if somebody really wanted something and I had it, we could organize something. But it's not something I do. It's just I'm kind of so busy with all the other elements of stuff
Yeah,
that I do, and the video work and that, and then the management side of things. Like so, but like yeah, if somebody's seen something, I've done that. Like where they can see it and they want it. Like yeah, could
So,
organize
so
something.
for people over here in America who would like to book good bands for traditional festivals or for Irish Celtic festivals, they could contact you.
So rootsroommusic.com is
I'll,
my music
yeah, I'll put
website,
that down. Put that down in the.
and then my photography stuff is framelight.ie is the photography
Say
website.
it again, Graham.
Framelight, FRAMELIGHT.ie.
Dot IE. I'll put all
Yeah,
that down
yeah,
for
and
information for people.
and so the artist I manage is Aoife Scott, and she goes over to America quite
Oh
regularly
yeah,
and plays
very
a lot of
well,
the big festivals. Yeah,
very well.
so so we're just at the moment now in terms of the music. We're waiting for things to get back up and running. It'll be 2022 before a lot of the artists make it back to America.
Yeah.
But we're hoping that this summer we'll be able to get some outdoor events running here and get some live music going again.
Do you ever come across Seamus, my son, Seamus Hernan?
Oh, I do. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
If we were in town now, see, this is the thing. Like when you're working the music business, to be off on a Saturday night or go in and catch the lads if they were playing in Foley's. But that's where I would go for them. Or if I was in town on a Saturday night, it's Connolly's for the trad session.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I see the lads there. All right, like, but sure, I'd say yeah, it's so long now since we've seen
Oh
anybody.
yeah.
Like, so it's
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, he's dying to get back.
So
He's dying to get
yeah.
back. Then
And see, like we used to play ourselves. We have our own band as well. Myself and my sister, Tennicky Station, and sure, we were playing right up until it all fell apart as well. Like so, it's kind of it's strange just for any musician. But I've always been kind of as long as I have music in my life some way, it that kind of keeps me going. So whether it's filming music, photographing music, being at a concert, promoting it, touring it, whatever, I get a satisfaction out of that. So I don't always feel the need to play. So I think I'm better at pushing other people on to play than I am,
yeah,
but like, and this is the thing, like being a musician or a singer, it's a talent. And I know that, when you're on stage and you're performing to an audience, there's only a handful of people in that audience that might be able to sing one song or any song or a verse. So sometimes I kind of have to remind myself that, like, if you do it, you're doing it for the people that can't do it if they enjoy it. Like, and it's such an experience to engage with people through music.
it is. It is absolutely.
And you can go anywhere in the world if you can play a few songs or sing a song, and you're going to be into company somewhere, and it's a great way of life.
It
So
is, and you can make so many connections. You connect. You kind of connect on a deeper level with some people through music.
yeah, well, I
I
think
feel
yeah,
that.
well, yeah, well, like it's just it's that common denominator you have between you straight away, and then there's a level of understanding when it comes to
Yeah.
music, and it's a shared experience, and it's very much a live experience. So like if we all go to one concert and we're watching somebody on stage, like we've all shared that
Yeah.
experience. So it's a funny. There's not a lot of other businesses or anything else that can say that the shared experience is such a enjoyable one.
Yeah.
So you could be working in other industries and it's not the same.
Not
So
the same. No, it's not.
we're blessed, and right now we need all the supports we can get for
Yeah.
the musicians, and
Yeah, we do.
and 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 the thing is that for the audience, they've been so generous, I think, towards musicians during this time, like, and because they miss the entertainment, the artists miss the performance, So like we need each other. Like so, it's very important for artists when they get back out there that there will be an audience and it'll be a safe environment for them to perform in. You know.
Well, would you believe it, Colin? We've run out of time.
Oh, sure now.
You know, time flies when you're having fun.
Absolutely, yeah, yeah.
Well, thank you everybody for joining us for this Chatting Up the Irish episode. Colin is he's really a talented photographer, and if anyone in America is thinking about running festivals or if you're involved in booking festivals, Colin is the guy to contact. His I will put down his website for on the information below, but it's rootsroommusic.com for
That's
anyone
correct, yeah.
who would want to contact Colin Gillan with regard to any of the artists that he has on his books. Secret Ireland Tours actually sponsors this program, and if you're thinking about coming over to Ireland, it's one of the greatest places to go on a vacation, and it is the best thing to do when you're coming over to Ireland is come up with a local. And Colin, you know I'm a local.
Well, now if you're driving down the road with the bus and you see me, you better stop and bring me
Oh,
down to
we'll be
the.
calling into you. That's what we'll be doing
Yeah, 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 yeah.
when we go down. So it's been a pleasure talking to you, Colin. And
Absolutely.
if anyone wants to have a look at our website, it's secretirelandtoursllc.com, and you can have a look at all the tours that are available for 2022. And you'd never know, we might get Colin to join us one of the nights, and he'd be able to play a few songs. That'd be an idea, wouldn't it?
Oh, sure. Anything can go happen around here. Thanks for asking me, and all the best. And
Thanks
we'll
very
see you
much.
when you get over back home. Okay.
All God's help, I'll be home soon. Thanks very much,
Right.
Colin.
No problem. All right.